Today, we're going over the dark sides of owning your dream supercar at a young age. Now, everyone always desires the idea of having a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Porsche, and I was fortunate enough to buy my dream car at only 24 years old. I daily drove the car, I put 22,000 miles on it, but the thing that nobody tells you is the interactions along the way. The jealousy, the stress of owning it, the anxiety of where you can go, the police run-ins, and, well, so much more. So stick around for this video to find out all the reasons you shouldn't buy your dream car whilst you're young. Firstly is the constant anxiety. Now, a lot of you might wonder what I mean by this, but I think I'm better off starting at the beginning. I bought my Ferrari 360 3 years ago, so that would have been about 2022 in November time. I went and bought the car privately, which obviously comes with risk, but it also meant that there was reward. I ended up getting the car significantly cheaper. I went to look at the car 2 days after it was listed, and I made an offer. It was too low, it got rejected, and a few days later, the guy wanted to make another car happen, so he in fact accepted my offer. The following week, I went to collect the car. It was beautiful. Rosso Corsa, Nero leather, gated manual. It was my dream car. But the risk with buying a car privately is obviously there's no warranty. You're the warranty. So, going from that point on, I had to start thinking creatively in the way of, how do I drive this car? What happens if something goes wrong? And well, things do go wrong. A little bit more on that in a bit. But realistically, the bit I'm on about today is the anxiety. When you buy the car privately, everything is on your shoulders and, well, you start looking at the car very differently. By the time I'd literally left the guy's garage, I was already watching all the gauges. Is the oil pressure too high? Are the temperatures too high? What's the clutch wear like? Are the tyres okay? Everything that goes through your head. On top of that, you have the fuel, which goes nowhere, and so many other things. So realistically, when you drive a car like this, it's not like a modern car. And that depends on the supercar you are buying, but what I can guarantee is you will always have that anxiety. The reason that anxiety is there is purely cost. You might be able to pick up an older supercar for decent money. You could get into a 911 for anywhere from $7,500, a little bit to come on that, and right up to 25 grand for a 997, for example. That seems like a really cheap barrier to entry for the type of car you're getting. I say cheap in context because you are buying a 911 or an R8, and in the market, that does look like value for money. The thing no one talks about is obviously these cars used to be £100,000, £200,000 in some examples if you went and bought something like a 612 Scaglietti. But the parts reflect that. Just because you bought a 25 grand car doesn't mean it's going to cost 500 quid to fix. And that's where the first part of my story starts. My Ferrari 360 I owned for 2 years and it was virtually faultless. Don't get me wrong, I did the normal things. I worried about clutch wear, I worried about the brakes, I worried about the tyres, I worried about the tyre pressures and the temps. But the car never put a foot wrong. It ran effortlessly perfect, temperature stayed good, but the oil pressure was always an anxiety because unlike a new car where it gives you an average, you watch the oil pressure on an older car do this constantly. Which, obviously, when you're going in traffic and you see the oil pressure start to rise or drop, you think there's something wrong. But realistically, all the things I mentioned were never going to be the problem. The problem was the ABS motor. I was just about to get the car MOT'd in 2024, and virtually as I was driving it there, the ABS light came on. Now, obviously the first thing to look at here was ABS sensors, or a lot of people said wiring. Basically, where the ABS motor is, it's right in front of the front trunk. There's a good chance that there's certain play on it. And also they said if the ABS motor has started to leak, it could have corroded the cables. So we took it in and I was told it was definitely a wheel speed sensor. Would have been 4 because they say to change them all, but I wasn't that lucky. It ends up it was the full-blown ABS motor. We got the ABS motor out of the car using an incredible garage called Bob Houghton's up in the Cotswolds and found out it was worse than we thought. The motor itself had completely seized. Apparently the computer was good, but the motor had seized. So I managed to buy a motor from abroad, that came over and it had to be sent off to be refurbished and put together. Now, a lot of you will know if you watch the channel, I had the opportunity to sell this car and I needed it gone quick. So I ended up having to buy another ABS motor, and that came in at a price of £1,100. The reason for that is a supercar, an aging supercar, you don't find that you'll get the parts on a shelf, and if Ferrari don't make it, then where are you going to get it? And that leaves you in a position where you're spending over the odds for second-hand goods because Ferrari don't produce it anymore because there's basically newer cars to worry about, and the older cars, you're not able to buy the parts because a lot of the time they still own the IP or the copyright or trademarks for that part. But it was an ABS motor and I couldn't get it, so I ended up paying £1,100. So that shows you some of the anxiety that may come with a car like this that you never expect. But the bit that I can't get over is what it's like to drive. It's an exceptional car to drive, but you have to choose where you drive it. The car comes with other anxieties like whether you're actually going to clear it into a space, whether the car's going to get door dinged, and whether people will respect your property or in fact even try and steal it. One of the biggest issues with the Ferrari 360 is it doesn't even have a locking wheel nut, so in theory, someone could come along and nick your wheels. Luckily, that was never the case for me, but it was always an anxiety in the back of my head. But all these bits genuinely mean nothing when you're driving your dream car and you get to drive it briskly on a B road. The thing that does ruin driving it on a B road, though, sometimes, is the people. Now, don't get me wrong, you do have some incredible people. People like us, realistically. People watching a channel like this that genuinely are enthused by these cars, that just want to see them on the road, hear them rip past, and look at them for what they are. But then you have, effectively, those angels and then the arsonists. The individuals that basically show bitterness and jealousy towards you, whether that's because they think the car's too loud or whether they think it's too showy-offy, or whether it's the fact that they just don't like that there's a young guy driving the car. I've had multiple run-ins with, effectively, people who put their windows down next to you and go, so you have those angels, but you also have those arsonists. You have individuals that will look at these cars and effectively judge you for it. They think the car's too loud, they think it's too much of a show-off's car. They don't understand the reason you buy it is because it's your dream car and you've always wanted one and you love the automotive space. Then you have individuals that are really just arseholes that turn around, they look at a car like this, they put their window down at traffic and say, Nepo baby, or how are you finding it driving your dad's car, or daddy's money. And you think, realistically, how bitter or nasty do you have to be at your heart to feel the need to tell people that? It makes you feel bad because you're overaged with jealousy and bitterness, but it also makes the driver feel bad because they think, well, like, why did he have to say that? Why did he have to be nasty? And let's kill the myth here. Individuals turn around saying, well, when I have a supercar, my life will get better. I can guarantee it doesn't. You've got the same friends the day before as you do the day after, and, well, I hate to say it, it won't get you girls. Realistically, the only people that talk to you about this car are middle-aged men at a petrol station that want to know how many times you have to do a cam belt service or how much it costs to do the brakes or a clutch. So realistically, what am I saying here? Well, I think you need to have thick skin when owning one of these cars because not all of the attention you get will be nice. And well, I have to say, you will get attention. At the end of the day, it is a Ferrari. But the bad thing is, some of that attention may well be the police. I've had a few run-ins with this car, never because I've done anything wrong, but because I've been pulled over because of the car I'm in. People see a young guy driving a red Ferrari, and I guess there's questions about how you're able to get it. Now, realistically, most people don't realise that these cars can be from as cheap as 35 grand for a Ferrari 360 if you get a non-red auto one, but the issue is still there. I've been pulled over 4 times by the same police officer in this car, basically because he wanted to have a little look round. Every time he's pulled me over, found nothing on the car, but done it 4 times. Now, I appreciate he could well be doing his job, but 4 times seems far too much of a coincidence, and well, to me, it felt like profiling because I was a young guy in a red Ferrari. Now, I'm not saying all police are the same, and I'm not saying all people are the same, but you will get individuals that effectively take the mick. And I've got to say, you end up, effectively, whenever you see a police car, waiting to see if they'll either turn round or put their blue lights on. So it doesn't create a nice experience in that respect, but when you hit that B road and you get to floor it, this car is insane. Then there's the reality of using it. Now, as I said, I did 22,000 miles in about 3 or 4 years, and the car never really missed a beat apart from the ABS piece. The thing though is obviously the car had paranoia when it comes to scraping, etc. But then on top of that, you've virtually got no space. Of course, it's a two-seater Ferrari with a front trunk. Now, the front trunk is a great size for a supercar. I've managed to fit 128 beers in that front trunk. I don't know why I did it. It was basically a free will moment where I thought, I wonder how many beers I can fit in that. And on top of that, the car is fantastically reliable. But you wouldn't fit a suitcase in there, and realistically, you're not going to be able to live out of it like a camper or anything like that. But why would you need to? It's a Ferrari, it's meant to be pulled out on the weekends, it's meant to be enjoyed. And on top of that, there's range anxiety. That being said, I don't want to work out how much I spent in fuel doing 22,000 miles in 3 years. But realistically, these cars weren't built for doing that, and that's an important thing to understand if you're looking to buy those cars. Grocery runs, forget it. City centres, stressful. And unfamiliar areas, you daren't leave it in. This car is built to be what it is, a Ferrari, a prancing horse that runs through the countryside and enjoys every single moment, screaming as it does it. The reality is you end up treating it like glass, and that does kill some of the magic. But like anything, when you use it in the right space, you enjoy the hell out of it. But it never takes away the fact that you may lay awake at night asking yourself, should I sell it before something goes wrong? And in the end, I did. So if you want to see why I sold my dream car, check this video out. But it's always worth remembering, buying a car like this will never change you. It may be an objective or a goal that you might have, and if you're brave, I applaud you, do it. But if you're anyone that suffers with anxiety or wants to be careful and cautious in life, maybe wait a few more years. Because the reality of owning your dream Ferrari young is that it will test you, but it might also reward you. So I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.